So what did the Rebbe say on Chav Ches Nisan? What did he say? What else?
Giving it over to you.
Huh?
Giving it over to you.
Yeah. Anything else? So it sounds like, from all of that, it sounds like the Rebbe had a plan. The plan didn't work, so he's starting a new plan. Yeah? That's what it sounds like? I tried everything, accomplished nothing, so you take over and maybe you can do something. Yes? That's what it sounds like? It's not possible. Actually, what the Rebbe was saying was not new, and it was not discouraging. Because what did the Rebbe say when he first accepted the Nesius? What was the Rebbe's first statement? That I will not refuse to help you, but don't think that I'm going to do all the work, you're going to do the work. That was the first thing he said. Now, Chav Ches Nisan, the Rebbe said, I helped you as much as I need to help you, and now, like the original plan, do it. I've given you koyach, Chav Ches, I've given you koyach, now you can do it. And that was the plan. No change. It's not even discouraging. It's almost like the Rebbe was saying, now that I've given you everything that I need to give you, now you can do it. You're old enough. We started 44 years ago, and now but what does it mean that the Rebbe will help, but we have to do it? One of the Rebbe's chidushim in life is that there is no such thing as limits. A human being, particularly a nefesh elikis, a chelek elokah mimal, there's nothing you can't do. And all the time that we think we have limits, we can't do this, we can't do that, that's just Yetzer Hara. The truth is that you can do anything. So when the Rebbe says change the world, he means it literally. And it's not like impossible. You're a nefesh elikis, you're a chelek elokah mimal. Get together and change the world. In other words, you're higher than Teva. So why would you let Teva limit you? For example, a few years ago, I mean, not so long ago, stopping somebody in the street on Miftzayim and asking them to put on tefillin was very difficult. You don't do that. You don't stop people in the street. Who talks to total strangers? Who ever heard of walking up to a total stranger and saying, roll up your sleeve? What kind of chutzpah is that? You can ask them, what time is it? How do you get to downtown? But, excuse me, roll up your sleeve. What kind of chutzpah is that? So people had a very hard time. It was difficult. Today, for most people, it's not difficult at all. On an airplane, walking over to a guy and telling him, you're Jewish, roll up your sleeve. For me to do that would be Mesiras Nefesh Mamash. It's embarrassing, it's awkward, it's uncomfortable. The Rebbe made us bigger than Teva. Not to be nispal from anything. back in the 50s, there was a shliach who needed to fly to overseas. And he was by the Rebbe, so he said to the Rebbe that he thinks maybe he'll take a boat. Because he's a little afraid of flying. Airplanes were a little primitive back then. He was a little afraid of flying. And the Rebbe said to him, Heruf seiner Pachten. Don't be a coward. Get on a plane and fly. That was like a theme by the Rebbe. What do you mean you only raised $1 million? You could have raised $2.5 million. What do you mean you only had 400 people buy a dinner? Get 800 people buy a dinner. And when the Rebbe said, Kera Welt, change the world, he meant it literally. The young generation takes it literally. Because you're not afraid of anything. And you shouldn't be. So, Chav Ches Nissen, Koyach Nissen, the Rebbe told us, I've given you everything that I need to give you. So, now that I've done my job, now you are completely capable of doing your job. Without any limits, without any fear, without any hang-ups. You know, that's not my nature, and I can't go like this, and I can't do that. Whatever the challenge is, yeah, let's do it. Go for it. So people who think that Chav Ches Nissen was a discouraging sikha, when I first heard the sikha, I was in a hotel someplace, and somebody called me right after the sikha, panicked, and said, "Did you hear?" And he repeated some of the things that the Rebbe said, and it really sounded horrible. Oh, the Rebbe's quitting? Does it sound like that? Oh, I give up, I can't. That's what it sounded like, and that's what this guy was thinking when he told me. But then somebody called me and played the tape. And you hear how the Rebbe is talking strong and, come on, giving up. The Rebbe doesn't quit. On the contrary. It's like one of the most awesome things that you ever heard from the Rebbe was by dollars. Somebody came to the Rebbe and said the Rebbe should go to Eretz Yisrael and take 10,000 Chassidim with him, and that'll bring Moshiach and whatever, something. So the Rebbe said to him, what I have to do, I do. You do what you have to do. Now, which human being can say with a straight face, I do everything I need to do? You realize how awesome that is? Who can say that? Unless he's lying, exaggerating, he's out of touch with reality. But for an honest person to say, what I need to do, I do. That is so awesome. So when the Rebbe said, I did everything I could, that's an awesome statement. That doesn't mean I'm quitting. That means I'm successful, now you be successful. So I did everything I could, which means I gave you everything I promised to give you at the beginning of the Nesius. And I promised to do that so that you'll be able to bring Moshiach. No, so it's time. Now do it. And what does it mean everything I did was lahevel v'lorik? My bringing Moshiach is not the kavanah. The kavanah is you should bring Moshiach. Because my Moshiach is already here. Where's your Moshiach? So it fits a little bit with the Haggadah. How come whoever wrote the Haggadah had the chutzpah to leave Moshe out of the story? As if he had nothing to do with it. Moshe Rabbeinu is not mentioned in the whole Haggadah. So when the Torah says, Ki yisholcha bincha, what happened, what you should tell the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim. And in telling the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim, you don't mention Moshe Rabbeinu. How could you? I mean, there wasn't a single step, there wasn't a single event in the whole story that wasn't Moshe directly. So some people who are out of their minds say that you don't mention Moshe Rabbeinu because you don't want people to think that Moshe took us out of Mitzrayim. We should know that the Eibishter took us out of Mitzrayim. Since when is that a problem? If we say Torah Tziva Lonu Moshe, we think it's Moshe's Torah. And in the Torah, it doesn't mention Moshe because you shouldn't think that Moshe did. What is this? The only possible explanation is that the Anshe Knesses Hagdolah, whoever put together the Haggadah, Moshe Rabbeinu came to them and said, don't mention me, because everything I did was lehevel v'lorik. Why? Why? Because you're going to be reading the Haggadah in a cellar during the Inquisition. You'll be hiding and afraid, and you're going to be reading the Haggadah, and you're going to call me the Goyal? What is this, a joke? It's lehevel v'lorik. You're gonna make a seder in a concentration camp with some stolen flour that you baked up some half-baked matzah, trying to be Yetzer the mitzvah, and you're going to call me a goyel? You're going to thank me for taking you out of Mitzrayim? It's lehevel v'lorik. After Moshiach comes, then thank me for for bringing you out of Mitzrayim. But when you're sitting in Golus, so that's what the Rebbe said. Everything I did was lehevel v'lorik because you're in Golus and in a Golus pnimi. So what are you're gonna thank me for taking you out of Golus? The truth is, every Rebbe, by definition, a Rebbe, if he's your Rebbe, took you out of your Golus. And in a generation, the Rebbe of that generation takes his generation out of Golus. Out of the Golus that generation needs to come out of. So of course the Rebbe took us out of Golus. He took us out of our narishkeit. He took us out of our smallness. He made us think big, change the world, go outside yourself, go beyond your nature. He took us out of Golus. But to the Rebbe, that's lehevel v'lorik. That's nothing. That's like Moshe Rabbeinu. Not that we could say that Moshe Rabbeinu didn't do anything, but Moshe Rabbeinu can say that. Moshe Rabbeinu said, I wanted to take you out of Golus and bring you to Moshiach. But I didn't bring you to Moshiach. So don't make a joke and say that I brought you out of Golus. I took you out of Mitzrayim. But that's lehevel v'lorik. So the Rebbe is actually saying, if a Rebbe, if a Neshama d'Atzilus brings Moshiach, that's not what we've been waiting for thousands of years. The Arizal was never in Golus, and by him there was never a Churban. By the Rashbi there was never a Churban. That's Moshiach. Moshiach has to be your Moshiach. A Moshiach that everybody in the street recognizes and knows. So we say the mitzvahs that the Ovis did were like hevel compared to the mitzvahs after Matan Torah. Who are you calling hevel? Are you using a word? The mitzvahs that the Ovis did were awesomely holy. So holy that it didn't even affect the Gashmias. A mitzvah that doesn't affect Gashmias, we call it hevel. But in terms of holiness, much holier. But when something is very holy, it's not the Moshiach that every person has to experience and see. V'ro kol basar. If only the holiest person sees, then so imagine your father owns a house, and there are a lot of people living in the house. Most people know that it's your father's house, and they respect your father, and they behave the way he wants them to. Not destroying the house, changing the house. But there's one person who doesn't recognize and doesn't admit that it's your father's house, and he keeps doing things against your father's. So on the one hand, you could be callous, and you can say, okay, so out of 100 people, one guy is making trouble. But it's only one guy. What's the big deal? Or, in your father's house, somebody is changing things and acting as if it was his house? That's horrible. It doesn't matter if it's just one person. That's what the Rebbe said in the Maimer, Ve'ata Tetzaveh, that even if everything is good for you, in Golus, it's a good Golus. You're learning, you're davening, you're healthy, you're rich. It's not a bad Golus. It should be totally unacceptable to you and make you crazy because there's one person someplace in the world in a jungle who doesn't know that Ein Eid Milvadei. That should bother you. In the Eibishter's world, there is a creature who thinks that he's the boss. That's what it means, ad Mosai. So the Rebbe said, Chav Ches Nissen, that if anybody would say ad Mosai with an emes, Moshiach would come. Ad Mosai, what? So if you watch the clip, if you saw the Sikha, the Rebbe said, if anybody said Ad Mosai with an emes, Moshiach would be here. So what did people do at the Fabringen? They started singing a song. Ad Mosai, do we have to wait? That's your answer. That now you're saying it with an emes? Because you made a song out of it? It was very disappointing. And the Rebbe did not get very excited about that thing. He ignored it completely. So what does it mean to say Ad Mosai with an emes? So the first question is, Ad Mosai what? What are you complaining about? How long is this going to go on? What's this? What is it? So people say, well, ad Mosai, are we going to have pain, and we're going to have to go to doctors, and people are going to die and get sick? Ad Mosai. Okay. People say that with an emes. They really don't want to get sick, and they surely don't want to die. So that's not with an emes? The problem is, that's not what we mean by ad Mosai. The real question of ad Mosai is, how long does the Eibishter have to suffer with people in his world not listening to him? So even if your Golus is a good Golus, even if all Yidden were doing what they're supposed to do, but there's a non-Jew someplace who has no idea whose world he's in. Not what world he's in, whose world he's in. That's not acceptable. Ad Mosai. In the Eibishter's world, there are people who tell the Eibishter to mind his own business. This is his business. So ad Mosai.
How Shrine ad Mosai help that person? How Shrine ad Mosai with an emes help people serve the Eibishter?
If the world was a little more concerned with the fact that it's the Eibishter's world, we would be where we're supposed to be for Moshiach to come.
Saying it's not the Shrine that helps, but if we would try, the change would happen.
If it bothered us, if what bothers you is that you still have to work for a living and you don't have madanim ka'ofar, that's not the emes ad Mosai, even though you mean it with an emes. So
what Shrine ad Mosai with an emes Mashiach would come would mean, that means if you would really, really care,
then
that Shrine is in Golus.
Then that's Moshiach.
That's Moshiach.
A world that cares.
But 10 mentioned is saying 10 people are enough to change the world. If they would care, the world around them would change.
Yeah, but that was a different project, it seemed. Like 10 was ein action.
That's another method of bringing Mashiach?
I really don't know. What's akshanus? And then, if there'll be 1, 2, 3 who will show the way. So there's a big project going on here. We need 1 or 3 people to show how. We need 10 to be really stubborn, and we need everybody to scream at Mosai. But chas v'sholem, to think that the way we've been bringing Moshiach since the Baal Shem Tov is not the way anymore, and that we have to do something else. That's not possible. We know what it takes to bring Moshiach. Hafatzas hamayonis, tshuva, and tzedakah. So at first the Rebbe said, what more I can do, weiß ich nicht. And then he said, well, what I could do is make you a shliach to tzedakah. First to give it over to you, and another thing, I can make you a shliach for tzedakah. So, bringing Moshiach comes only through hafotzas hamayonis, tshuva, and tzedakah. There is no other way, and there doesn't need to be any other way. What we need to be stubborn about, and what we need to find a way and an eitzah, how to make the hafotzas hamayonis faster, better, how to bring tshuva better, and how to give tzedakah more. But not to start a new project, chas v'sholem. So again, Chav Ches was not a discouraging event. And it certainly wasn't a change of plans. Okay, I thought somebody on this not working, let's try something else. That's crazy. So think about this in your spare time while you're falling asleep. If you were Mayfitz, if it was completely up to you and you were the only one in the world, and you wanted to be Mayfitz Mayones of the Baal Shem Tov Hasidus, what one statement in Hasidus do you think everyone in the world should know? Take one drop out of the Mayon and say, this is what I want the whole world to know. That's a good one. But if you think Hafotza Samayonis means everyone should learn Samach Vav, it's going to take too long. Just learning Samach Vav takes too long. To get everybody to learn Samach Vav, that's for Moshiach. What one thing, the essence, the nekuda of the Mayonis, do you think the whole world needs to know? Al Pichsidus. Because that's from Nigla. Think about it. What is to you the mayon that needs to spread to the whole world? And the whole world means, by the way, non-Jews also. What does every human being in the world have to know so that he can be Mekabel Pnei Moshiach? So you can start with a negative. The first thing everybody in the world needs to know is that they're not good enough. If they think they're good enough, they don't need Moshiach. If everyone in the world could realize that the way I am, what I am, that's it, it's not good enough. If everybody in the world would ask, Lama Haisa Kazeis Lefanov Yizbarech, to take my neshama from Igra Rama and send it down to this miserable world. If everybody asked that question, Moshiach would be here. Because if you ask the right question, you get the right answer. And the right answer to that is Moshiach. So if you ask the right question ad Mosai, Moshiach would be the answer. So that's just what's missing. That if everybody could recognize that we're missing something, at least that. But then what positive statement in Hasidus does the whole world need to hear? I mean, it's a practical question. If you have a minute to talk to a guy on Miftzayim, and he's really, willing to hear something, and you have only 1 minute, what do you say? So in many of the dollar videos, and some of the Gvirim, Machne Yisrael videos, in the minute that the Rebbe has with these people, the Rebbe says, now make sure somebody else does the same thing. You put on film, now get somebody else to put on film. You give tzedakah, now get somebody else to give tzedakah. In other words, take responsibility for another person. If everybody would do that, there'd be nobody to take responsibility for. So be encouraged, not discouraged. The Rebbe gave us amazing abilities, and there's nothing stopping you from doing what you need to do and change the world. Change the world.
From the Rebbe's point of view, after he says that I did everything, now it's your job, right? So we have to, on no ground, do everything. We have to bring Moshiach. But like, what's Rebbe saying that he's doing now? That's it? No?
No,
He
he's
already gave us all the powers, but now what?
so he's not going to stop.
Then you can,
He's saying there's nothing new that I need to give you. Of course, I'll never stop giving you what I'm giving you. But don't wait for another chiddush. You have all you need. Just use it. Use it. Use it right. And in fact, after that, there was no new mitzvah. There was no new mitzvah. So the Rebbe said, no more chidushim. I'm giving you. You have the strength. Do it. Huh?
What's about the fact that the Rebbe encouraged 2 weeks later that learning in Yonagul Mashiach sort of sounded a new thing? That's his question.
Oh yeah? See, there is no new thing really. Mitzvayim also was not new. It was just Chassidim are kind of slow, so the Rebbe like, you should have come up with them. All right, fine, I'll come up with it. And actually, if you think about it, the giant maneuver was started by a shliach, not by the Rebbe. The Rebbe didn't say, make big maneuvers. No. One shliach made a huge maneuver. It was successful. So other shluchim thought they should also do it. And the Rebbe said, do it. And
once you're saying it, there's a Chabad article last week where I forgot the name of the chassid. Basically, he was a bacher, he was a shliach in New Haven. He came with his friend to 770 after he heard the sikha. Everyone was sitting to him at Takas Eitzah, and he was stayed up later at 770, him and his friend. And he remembered that the Rebbe said that if you learn Hilchos Beis Abchira, you can bring the Gula. So they published Manam Mekaymis in the Rebbe Sichas and in Chassidus B'chlal of Yonagul Mashiach. And the next Sikha, every book was all printed. And so it was under Matam Mashiach Ilami. And they sent it in, of course, to the Rebbe. And the Rebbe next Sikha, a weekday thing Sikha, he spoke about learning Yonagul Mashiach. The Rebbe said, and it was already printed, Manam Mekaymis, you can check where to learn it in Chassidus. So maybe it actually adds to your point that
Chassidim started.
Chassidim started by letting Rechapi, that I've actually mentioned it before.
Yeah. And the first Chabad house was, I think, 10 years before the Rebbe even mentioned the word Chabad house.
Who was that person?
Shlomo Kunyan,
And who was the person that was in
Chaim Drizzen. Are you related to anybody?
No.
Who started Eis and Sefer Tova? I think Nussi Gerari. And then years later, a non-chassid, a chief rabbi in South Africa, started the International Challah Bake, which is a fantastic project. So, it's your world, take care of it.